General, you know, one of the issues I really want to raise, because we haven't really heard much about this, is, you know, we know that the security agencies obviously are surveilling the civilian population, obviously in response to terror attacks, etc. We don't hear much about internal surveillance. How certain can you be that within your organization you do not have these kinds of traitors and infiltrators? Because ultimately we're not sure of any mechanism that has been put in place by the Buhari administration to surveil those who are surveilling others. Could it not be that these people are working with
no,
some
we
of the
have
forces
we
against us?
have some military personnel that were arrested because maybe the action they took was not sufficient, or it shows that they were conniving with the insurgents. There have been several trials like that. If you come, you can have record of so many.
But are you sure that you've gotten all of them? Did it stop where you
can't be sure that you have gotten all of them, but it's a process. It's a process. Military, we are large, and we have people that they can discuss and convince people to do otherwise.
The reason why that's relevant is because earlier in the conversation you were saying because the military were not in Dapchi, it's unlikely or improbable that they were able to coordinate with members of Boko Haram. But now we know, based on what you're saying, that there was indeed some sort of internal conviction or internal prosecution, and that begs the question as to, you know, the possibility and potential that indeed there are some forces within the security agencies that are working against the country.
Do you know why we queried the Amnesty International report? If you call a military formation, share the information, give us the telephone number. If we know that this is the number of a military officer or a commander that received this information before this time without doing anything, the person will be arrested and tried.
I'm just wondering, I mean, General, you said that when your generals assessed or when your people assessed, you know, Dapchi, they did not see any immediate threat to it, but it still falls within the northeast. Would you say then that we're taking for granted the fact that, you know, peace might have returned to certain areas, or that, you know, certain areas were never under attack? Because we also heard that same story about Chibok. Chibok was never attacked until the schoolgirls were taken away from Chibok.
That should make you to understand the way the military is operating in that place, where you don't have the manpower to man the whole places. You make do with some strategic decision that they may be faulty at the end of the day, without you intending to do that deliberately. So we have a situation, like what people normally ask, how many times are you entering Sambisa Forest? People have asked that question. And I say, okay, maybe we are not communicating enough. Sambisa Forest is not like a forest we have in the south-south, because we always use our minds, look at what happened in our villages. That the forest is 10 times the size of Lagos. Do we have the manpower to protect that place after we clear the place? We don't have. So when we clear, we withdraw, and they come back.
So if you say that you're not taking for granted that there was a strategy in place, the question is, what was the strategy? Do we have, for instance, were they able to call? Is there a response team that can answer in case something happens?
There is a response team that can answer, but if that response team is not giving information, you hear from Amnesty and even everybody I talk about, the military actually came into Dapchi after the Boko Haram have taken the girls.
Which is what part of what Amnesty International said, that you came in shortly after the girls had been taken. We also saw the row between the Nigerian military and the police, you know, about handing over to the police because the area was safe.
Yes,
what do you make of that?
What happened is that, you know, I had to come out and say, look, this is not the time for passing blame. The military only go to a place where the police cannot take care of the security. Now, in the case of Dapchi, even if there was no handing and taking over, there was no documentation. If the military is out of the place, the police naturally take over. In the security architecture of this country, we have the civil defense. That is why they don't have barracks. They live among the people. If there is any problem, they take care of it. If it's where the military, civil defense, where the civil defense cannot, the police go in. And where it is difficult for the police, the military come in. So if the military withdraw from the place, the next in line is the police. But the question is, the police in Dapchi, do they have the ability to withstand Boko Haram?
General, you know, we really can't blame the suspicion of Nigerians when you look at the facts of what happened. We're coming just a few weeks after, you know, President Buhari inaugurated this new drone technology. They're calling this Igumi 2, I believe. You have a situation in which several trucks filled with terrorists and girls have come into a place. The terrorists now go back to where they came from. We're supposed to have drone technology that would have been able to track where they're coming from and where they're going to. And you ask the question, if the federal government knows where these people are or has a good idea of where these girls were in order to negotiate, why is it that they're not being crushed now that these girls are coming back?
Well, I will only answer that question as a military man. That when we are given a task, we take care of it to the best of our ability. Of course, you know that the government has a kind of helicopter view over everything. And maybe it is not possible for them to do what they are doing. For instance, like the Sambisa forest I was talking about, it is bordered by other countries. And before now, before the establishment of multinational joint task force, each time we pursue Boko Haram, they enter into the other country, we can't continue the pursuit.
General, I'm going to ask you to please hold your thoughts for us. We'll have to take a moment now. Sunrise will continue in a bit. Please stay with us.